again. Welcome to part 2 on my series on the 5.56 AK from Pioneer Arms from their new forged Trunnion generation. If you haven't seen part 1, you stumbled on this video first somehow. That's where I kind of discuss my initial impressions as far as quality and stuff like that goes. I'll put it in the description below. There's also going to be a part 3, and I'll discuss what that's going to be about at the end of this video. In this one, we're going to be discussing changes that I've made. We're going to be touching on accuracy, and we're going to be discussing how well it seems to be holding up after 500 rounds of use, which is where we are with this right now. So without any further ado, let's get started. The only real functional change that I made was I switched out the slant brake that it came with from the factory with one of these 74 style brakes. I'm not a big fan of the slant brakes in general, and for this gun in particular, it seemed like it was overcompensating. So this 74 style brake does make for a considerably more pleasant shooting experience. It was only $20-something, so very, worth every penny, I would say. That's really the only functional change. For more aesthetic changes, I did switch out the safety with a standard AKM safety. This, again, was not functional. The original one that came from the factory worked just fine. It's just, I thought it was kind of this spot-welded, unsightly mess, and so I thought, might look a little cleaner, more low profile with an original AKM-style safety. And also, I switched out the pistol grip with a more correct-looking Bakelite grip to replace the kind of orange cheap plastic one that it came with. Again, strictly an aesthetic change. That way, if I'm seen at the range with this thing, maybe people won't point and laugh because they've deduced right off the bat that it's a Pioneer. They probably still will point and laugh, actually, but at least it'll be for different reasons. But that's really it for changes, I guess. Let's get into accuracy a little bit. So in this regard, I'm going to post up a couple pictures of some groups I shot. The first one is going to be like the very first attempt straight out of the box where I wasn't sure quite where to hold or anything like that. So this is at 100 yards with 55 grain full metal jacket PMC, 5.56, by the way, not 223. And then the next one is after kind of a more or less figured out where to hold, so on and so forth. So as you can see, not stellar accuracy, but I am not a stellar shot. I never claimed to be. You've probably determined that by now. But in any case, minute of man accuracy, I guess. Theoretically, somebody better than me could do better. But, not great, not absolutely awful, I suppose. It's kind of what I was expecting from this thing, so what can you do? Anyways, on to how well it's holding up. In terms of how well it's running and holding up, I still have not experienced any reliability problems whatsoever. I did throw in a couple more additional brands of ammunition to try out, 2 different ones of the steel case 223, including tool ammo, which is really thought of as definitely one of the more bottom shelf options, maybe, just a step above Remington green and white box or something like that. But no, it ran just fine without giving me any issues whatsoever. So in this regard, we're good. It doesn't appear that there's any excessive wear that's troubling that's occurring so far. I did recheck headspace. We're still good. There hasn't really been any noticeable change whatsoever. Which is a good thing, but it does kind of speak to Pioneer's reputation and the uphill battle that they're facing. Because with most any other manufacturer, you check headspace and you're comfortably within spec, you're nowhere near borderline. You don't really even entertain the possibility that 500 rounds could have changed that, but with Pioneer, you do. So even if this gun ends up being fine after thousands of rounds, which we will get there, it definitely is illustrative of the battle that Pioneer has in order to kind of restore its reputation instead of having everybody just automatically turn up their nose at the mere mention of the name. But, it is what it is. In any case, what are we doing in part 3? First off, as I alluded to earlier, I do want to be well into the thousands of rounds. So in that regard, maybe part 3 will probably be the last installment, kind of a real final durability test. But also, I do want to revisit the topic of magazine compatibility, because as well as this has run so far, it's only been with these Pro Mag waffle mags and with the Pioneer branded mags as well. And neither of these have a particular reputation for being like durable, high quality magazines. So as little as it's worth, I, still wouldn't be comfortable giving my recommendation to something that doesn't have, durable, reliable, quality magazine options available, as opposed to magazines that, seem to work okay as long as you're gentle enough with them. I think that an AK that you have to be gentle with does fail at being an AK, so I do want to rule that out. I have acquired some quality options of magazines that didn't arrive in time for the last range outing. I still have a couple that are en route as well. And so next time I definitely want to delve into that and make sure that there definitely are quality options. Because as I said in the first installment about these Pioneer mags, even though the marketing materials do talk them up, they genuinely do feel like cheap plastic. They look like cheap plastic, so I'd be surprised if they don't break relatively easily. I think especially if some of the other kind of higher quality options do arrive, I may end up torture testing one of these magazines as well in the next installment. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Stay tuned. And of course, as always, thank you for watching.